And that's where Ruth comes in.
Ruth was one of them.
Yes.
A Moab
A
woman.
Moabite.
Moabitess?
Moabite.
Right, but she's a girl.
Still a Moabite.
Yeah, but in the
You're still a
Bible.
Washingtonian.
Yeah, but in the Bible it says
Moabitis.
Moabitess. That sounds
She's
like
got the
diabetes.
meanest.
It sounds like diabetes.
She got the meanest.
She's got the Moabitis. Hello.
Welcome back
Dolly.
to the Church 520 weekend recap.
Oh.
Woo! Yeah. So we had a lot of fun this weekend.
We did.
Covered a new topic. We finished up the series on prayer.
Yeah.
And then we talked about the commands that Paul gives.
That's right.
And then we started a little something. Don't know necessarily it's going to be a series per se.
Per se.
But we started something.
Yeah.
And we started looking at the legacy of different, at least this person, the legacy of this person in the Bible and what it meant for the rest of humanity. I mean, essentially, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah. Who is this person that we talked about? What did they do?
You got your Ruth.
Yeah, so we did talk about Ruth, and Ruth is a bit of an interesting character, right? Because Ruth comes in at a time when Israel was definitely very much in the whole promised land but being punished situation, right? In the time of Judges.
Yeah, lots of people fleeing.
Yeah, for sure. And even in a time of famine, to where you had a family, not Ruth's family yet, not Ruth's family yet,
Right.
that had actually fled from Bethlehem and went to Moab.
Yeah. Not Utah.
No, not Utah. The original, the OG Moab.
Yeah.
And it was a wife and a husband and their two sons, and they went out to Moab because, well, they were going to where the grain was.
Right.
They wanted to be able to feed themselves. And as they were out there doing the thing, the husband died.
Yeah.
Yeah, terrible. But the two sons, being young men, fancied the women that they were around and actually married two of them,
Yes.
right? And that's where Ruth comes in.
Ruth was one of them.
Yes.
A Moab.
A Moabite.
Moabitess. Moabitess.
Moabite.
Right, but she's a girl.
Still a Moabite.
Yeah, but in the Bible.
You're still a Washingtonian.
Yeah, but in the Bible it says
Moabitis.
Moabitess. That sounds
She's
like
got the
diabetes.
meanest.
It sounds like diabetes.
She got the meanest.
She's got the Moabitis. Moabitis.
So anyway.
Anywho,
Let's
she was a
get
lady
back
from
on track.
Moab.
After 10 years of marriage, I don't know if we could call it blissful or not.
I'm going to
But
believe
10
it's blissful marriage.
10 years of marriage, both sons die.
Ba-ba-ba.
Yeah, both sons.
We don't know what from. It doesn't say.
No
They
cause, right? Maybe they said they had enough and said, I'm out.
I'm
Probably
out.
not.
No.
Probably not.
Who knows? Maybe it was a dinosaur. Just kidding.
And all three ladies were definitely heartbroken after this. All the men have gone. Right? Where have all the cowboys gone? Woo.
Goodbye.
Right.
Goodbye.
And most of all, definitely Naomi, the mom in this situation,
Right. She lost her
would
husband
have
and her
been
sons.
would have been most heartbroken And seeing her family that she had spent a lifetime growing,
Yeah.
just up and gone, right?
Yeah,
Vanished.
she was having a hard time with it.
And
As one
Naomi,
would.
yeah, anybody would.
Yeah.
Naomi heard that actually God had actually started showing favor to the Israelites again, and that there was bread in Bethlehem and in
Yeah.
Israel. So she said, I'm going back to the motherland.
She's like, you know what? Bread doesn't actually sound that bad. I don't know what everybody was complaining about while they were wandering.
Yeah, for
I'd like
sure.
a little bit of bread.
And actually, she said, all right, I'm out. And surprisingly, both daughter-in-laws wanted to go with her.
Well, she said, go. Go to your family.
Yeah, but before that, they both wanted to go with her.
Yeah.
They
And then
both
they told
expressed interest.
Yeah, they were like, we'll go with you.
Yes.
You're our
And then her
mother-in-law.
response was,
No. Go back to your people, to your gods, to your parents.
why? Why would she say something like that?
Well, I mean, she was less Joby than Job, you know? I think
She needed a job.
she
J-O-B?
she was feeling a little injured by the Lord, I think. And
Okay, but explain that.
well, so she, like when Job lost everything, he never cursed God. He was always like, God is there for me regardless. She was like, you know what? This is tough. Go back to your gods. Go back to your family. Go back to she was probably feeling unheard. She was probably feeling unloved and very unseen, and
I
maybe. Or
maybe.
maybe she was thinking like,
She just said that, specifically said in the Bible that God has dealt bitterly with me.
yeah, and she was feeling sad and unseen and like she
Not-
had done something wrong, or
Yeah, but that's not being unseen.
I mean, I guess that's being very seen and not seen in a good way.
Right.
And she even said like, call me Mara, which means bitterness.
Not
Just
yet,
like,
but yes.
eventually. She's like, just call me Mara. I'm not even gonna. She gets to that point. Anyway, she tells the girls, she's like, go back to your families. Go back and find new husbands. Because they didn't have kids yet. Which is strange. Like in biblical times, that for 10 years, neither of the women conceived.
Well,
Like, that's-
I mean, we don't know why.
Right. It's so, anyway, I was like, that's weird. So neither of them had kids, and
Right.
she said, go back. And the girls were like, no, we want to be with you. And she's like, no, go be with your families. Go find husbands again. Like, your families can get you remarried, essentially.
She even says, like, even if I found a husband right now and bore a son, would you wait for him?
Right. Right. She's like,
Which would be super gross.
would you wait for him to be grown up so that you could marry him? Because, I mean, gross.
Yes.
Culturally, you would, if one son died, then the next son would take on and
Yes.
to keep the line going. But no one's waiting.
Yeah,
for
but
20 years.
At that point, you're like, I could be your mother. No, that's
Yeah,
gross.
no, I'm great, actually. I'll go find another husband.
Right.
And they would go back to their family, and their family would find them another husband.
Right. So,
One of them did. Orpah.
yeah, Orpah said, I'm out.
She said, okay. I mean, she didn't, they cried.
Not right away.
They
Right.
cried. They wept. They loved Naomi. And so it wasn't easy for her to leave, I don't think, by the way that they talk
No.
about them bawling. And, but then Ruth was like, no, your people are my people. Your God is my God. Where you go, I go. Where you sleep, I sleep.
Yes. So, and she actually said, quit trying to convince me to not go with you.
Yeah,
I'm going with you.
right.
And so she did. And Naomi's response was that she quit talking to her.
She said,
But it doesn't say in the Bible, like, how she quit talking to her, whether she quit talking to her about going back or she just quit talking to her altogether.
right. She said no more words.
Right. So, which
she's
is
so
kind of
talking.
crazy because they had like a 7 to 10 day walk
Yeah.
to get from Moab to Bethlehem, and which is about 30 miles. And I can say like in today's era, you can't go really 30 miles in a car without somebody being not talking to you for the most part, even if you're have a little bit of a squabble.
Are you talking about me? Are you saying something?
Well, you just fall asleep. So
I'm either talking to you or
sleeping.
snoozing.
Yeah. So I mean, that would have had to have been some craziness that she would just not talk to her.
Yeah.
And my thought is that seemingly with the kind of love that Ruth was exuding to Naomi, Naomi in the beginning would have shown the ladies great love.
Yeah.
So much so that both of them would have wanted to go with her
Yeah.
back to her land. So my thought is that she just quit, talking to her about that. And the whole reason that she was wanting to push them away is, well, couple, right? Mm-hmm. We already covered the fact of like lack of son.
Right.
Right. For there to be a marriage and offspring and, yada, yada,
Move on with their lives.
But also she was concerned that the Lord was against her. Right.
Yeah.
And punishing her for some reason or whatever. And she wanted to like get rid of like any type of collateral damage. Right. Yeah, because in those days, if like the head of the family was doomed, you were all doomed.
Yeah.
Right? Think about Korah and his family.
That's what I was thinking too.
Yeah. So, I mean, all of them were like gone, right? So, you already covered this a little bit, but what happened when they got back to Bethlehem?
She said, the ladies were like, "Oh my goodness, Naomi." And she's like, "Call me Mara."
Right. So the ladies were actually excited to see her, right?
Yeah. They're like, "Girl, where you been?"
Yeah, I'm sure. Just like that.
Mm-hmm. You're like, "Hey, find me at the well later."
Yeah, and she was not the best of company coming back into town.
She did exude the Mara, the bitterness.
She definitely had bitter face.
Yeah.
For sure.
She was hurting.
Now, it is kind of fantastic that both Ruth and Naomi came back into town at the barley harvest. Right?
Yep. Right at the right time.
Right at the right time. Because if you think about it, you've got two ladies in the ancient world with no husband.
Right.
No real way to make money. No money to speak of, right? How are they going to provide for themselves?
Yeah, if it wasn't harvest.
Right. We keep saying it's harvest, but what does that mean? Well, when harvest was happening, the reapers would go through and do their reaping, and inevitably stuff's going to be left behind.
Yes.
And
little pieces.
It was custom for people that were less well off, didn't have money or whatever, could go and glean from the field, right?
I mean, if they get to pick up the leftover pieces. So, like, when they would put them all in bags and bushels and stuff, then whatever, like, fell or was left on the ground when they were gathering, it would be, like, the stalk and then the berries on the top. They would get to collect those and take those home. That was gleaning. They were picking up the leftovers.
Well, and any other of the less desirable stuff that was in the field as well that was just left, they could also take.
Yeah.
Right? Mm-hmm. So, which is great. So, Ruth asked about going and gleaning, and Naomi was like, yeah, go. Right?
Mm-hmm. Just like, girl, let me take care of you.
When she was doing it, she just so happened to stumble on Boaz's land.
Yeah.
And be doing the thing, right?
Gleaning on Boaz's fields.
And Boaz must have liked what he seen of the lady. Because who that lady?
What he saw.
I've heard it both ways.
Okay. Yes. He said, who that girl over there? Boys.
Yeah.
Fetch me a pail of water.
And his reaper said, hey, that's Ruth who came back with Naomi and who's been really taking care of her. He's like,
Yeah.
oh, yeah. So,
Yeah, that's how he said it. It was like, oh, whither shalt thou goest? To the
well,
field. Do you think they didn't speak in King James?
no.
Because that's not their language.
They would have spoken in Hebrew.
Yeah.
Speaking in. Speaking in. Anyway, so Boaz really took a liking to Ruth and told her, hey, make sure you don't go anywhere else. Glean from here. You can stay until the end of the harvest. And even better yet, you're hungry. When it's time for mealtime, you come eat with us.
Yeah.
Right? And he didn't stop there. He even said, hey, Mr. Reaper, make sure you guys have some stuff fall out of your bags for her to get.
Yeah. Or like leave some extra stuff behind so she can be well fed.
And when Ruth gave the report about Boaz to Naomi, lo and behold, that actually was a family member. Yeah, actually a family member.
That's a family.
So, which is cool, right? Because in the custom, because he was a male family member,
Unmarried.
it was custom for him to potentially take her as bride.
Right.
And Ruth and Naomi told Ruth kind of what to do. And hey, he's going to be at the reaping floor. Go take care of him essentially tonight and lay at his feet and kind of like.
Essentially proposing.
Yeah,
Essentially like, I am here and I'm going to be here until you agree to marry me.
Right. And he's like, whoa, wait a minute. Wait a minute.
Like, as much as I love to do that, there's a closer cousin.
There is another.
There's another man, and he's probably
and
your
he
husband.
has to refuse the right first before it's actually legal for me to do this thing.
Right.
Right. So the next day he gets up, goes to the city gate, and he meets with the other guy with some elders, and he kind of puts it in a way. He's like, you know, you need to buy Naomi's land and everything that's owned and blah, blah, blah. And he's like, yeah, I'll do that. And he's like, you got to do it from Ruth too. And he's like, say what? Nope, that's going to ruin my inheritance. I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
So Boaz is like, okay.
Oh, nuts.
On.
I guess I have to marry her.
Right.
Ugh.
And,
wow, it's difficult.
They got married.
Yeah, and he was like, hey, girl, I'm your boo. As
Boaz, not Boaz.
I know. I'm your boo thing. Boaz.
No.
Boaz. Hey, boo.
Such a goof. Yeah. So after they got married, one, he was wealthy, which was good for her, right?
Yeah. And Naomi was taken care of.
And Naomi was taken care of. And Ruth actually had a son named Obed. And actually, it was also said that that was Ruth or Naomi's son as well. So that it had actually been provided.
She carried on the tradition
in
the way that it normally does for like men. So like if like the first son marries a woman and they don't have kids, the second son will have to, next unmarried son would marry her.
If he dies.
Yeah, if he dies. And then the first son would be considered his son to continue his line. And so it's
right.
Nice that like her son was also considered Naomi's son. Like she purposed to continue her mother-in-law's line.
Well, and even in all of that, even if it didn't purpose on to continue Naomi's line, it was just custom because the first son that came from Ruth would have been in the line of her original husband. Right? So it would have been in her line anyway.
Oh, because it was not Naomi's family. It was Naomi's husband's family.
No, that has nothing to do with it.
Oh, maybe I thought it was only if the... You know what? I really only thought it was that if it was the men's, to carry on the men's line.
It is to carry on in the son down the line. But that first son that comes from Ruth is actually considered in the line of her first husband because he died.
Oh, right. Which would put him in Naomi's line. Continue. Sorry, I'm here now. Diddly-doo, I'm caught up, everybody.
So, which is really cool because
Yeah.
Obed was actually the father to Jesse. And that made him the grandfather to David, which means...
He's in the line, Jesus.
Yep. That Ruth, a Moabite woman, a Moabitess, actually had a part with the line of Jesus, which is kind of cool, right?
That's very cool.
So what does all this mean? This is a nice story, but we need to know what it means for today.
Well, it's a nice historical...
Yes, a historical account of what happened in the back, way back.
No way back.
So what are some things that you see there?
I see the love that a daughter-in-law has for her mother-in-law. And I see like the redemptive story of being essentially lost and then redeemed back into the family. What else?
Well, one thing I saw, one of the few things that I saw was that Naomi and her family must have really loved these ladies, that they were willing to take off and go to a different country, essentially, like at that point, a different country with their mother-in-law once the sons had died. So they must have been doing something right, and so much so to the fact that Ruth actually was going to an unknown land and wanting to follow Naomi's God.
Right.
Right? Not the God of the Moabites, but the God of Israel. So that's kind of crazy. And also to have enough faith that she wanted to be with God's people.
Right.
It's really crazy.
It's an amazing testimony of Naomi and her husband and the love that they showed for these women that, and then taught them about who God is. And, but apparently, like, it seems to me that they never, it sounds like they never made them feel terrible about where they came from or what their previous thought processes were, because she said, go back to them. Whether it was in anger or in hurt, she wanted what was best for the women. And so it was a testimony to how great she and her husband were. What a great mother-in-law she was.
Right.
To these girls, that they would stay with her.
For sure. Yeah. And I mean, it's almost reciprocated, right? It's almost like the love that she originally showed the girls, Ruth was reciprocating back to her probably, right?
Well, you have to, like, they didn't have kids. They didn't have husbands. The likelihood that they were going to be the workers to take care of their mother-in-law is like 100%.
Right.
So they were willing to take care of her, not just go with her, but like take care of her.
Right. Well, and you said that earlier. I mean, you can see Ruth's sacrificial love for her mother-in-law because she was willing to give everything, leave everything, right? To follow Naomi back to the country and then also follow God. Right? And in that, God blessed her.
Right. And willing to give up everything, she gained it all.
Right. Right. And, the last thing that I saw was definitely that you don't know what God's got cooking in the background.
Yeah.
So just do what you feel is right, just like Ruth did, right? Well, and what God's word tells you is right,
Right.
right? Because she just wanted to take care of her mother-in-law and also to honor God. And in that became a very big, big part of the lineage, right?
Yeah, she
So,
was honored in her actions and included in the lineage of Christ.
right. You know, because we don't know what our lineage is going to be. Not just, actual like offspring,
Like spiritual lineage.
right? Spiritual lineage, right? Like your grandparents and the kids that they had and the kids that they've had and the people that they've influenced, right? Because they had such a big family and they all do things to honor God and the influence they've had on their kids and their friends, right? It's a huge map that starts to build,
Yeah.
right? And you don't know what God has cooking in the background that could somewhere down the line be something that really helps another person and allows them to come to a knowledge where they don't have to be without God
Right.
and they don't have to go to hell. They actually get to go to heaven.
Seemingly
The
small.
better
act.
H word,
Yeah.
right? And a seemingly small act, right? It could just be saying hi to somebody, or it could be helping somebody with a flat tire on the side of the road, right? It's just showing love to a neighbor.
Yeah, it shows that one seemingly small act can change the entire trajectory of your life and theirs.
Not to say that what Ruth was doing was a small act.
No,
That was kind of huge.
she was sacrificing
A lot.
a potential future. For
Right.
her.
Because she also I would assume, didn't expect to find a man
Right.
at that point.
Right. She was probably like, well, this is it. Like,
Yep.
it's me and my mother-in-law.
I'm going to Golden
Till
Girls
the end
it
of
up.
times.
The
Yes.
original Golden Girls.
Yes. Yeah, for real.
So that's what we talked about this Sunday. And
good.
just how her legacy got to not only live on in the lineage of Christ, but also forever immortalized in God's word.
Yeah.
So it was a great little study into the person of Ruth.
Yeah.
And then
we had enchilada casserole and some salad
yeah.
and banana mango smoothies for dessert.
Yeah, delish. So, yeah, we had a great weekend.
It was really good. You should have been there.
So, whose legacy have you been influenced by in your life? Somebody in the Bible, somebody that you know personally, face to face? Let us know in the comments. Hit a like on the video, subscribe. And we will be back next week to give a weekend recap. If you'd like to join us, go ahead and put some comments down in the comment section, and we would love to let you know where you can meet up with us and you can hang and we can have some food and just really love on one another.
Yeah.
So, bye.
Bye.